Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're here today with Dr. A on a great Wednesday afternoon, and excited to get a chance to do some Q&A with you. If you just arrived, please put a question in the chat message, or if you just want to say hi, we'd love to see that you're here. But we'd really love to hear your questions on becoming motivated. And Dr. A can't wait to hear a little bit about the feedback that you have on motivation and how to do hard things, even when you don't feel like it.
Cool. Well, great to be here. And again, we're now in April, and we're amidst the steep slope of this pandemic that we're dealing with. And so I want to really start there before we talk about motivation and our ability to move forward, because as we've talked about before, control is so important, and bringing the control back inside. So we're responsible for what we're doing at a time like this when the world is a little nuts, right? It's kind of we've been abducted, and we're not doing the normal things we do, or able to go out and live our life the way we are used to. So it's really important to understand these two worlds, and there's two environments. There's the environment inside of us, and then there's the environment outside of us. So on our planet, inside of us, there's the absolute capability to fully control that environment. I just wanted to start there because most people don't even realize that. They think kind of the world is happening to them. And certainly, listen, at a time like this, the outside world is changing, and it's changing quickly, and it's kind of the rug has been pulled out on many of the things we did previously. But really what's important to understand is the more we can kind of go into our world, our inner world, our inner environment, and we have control over all aspects of that, how we think, how we feel, how we respond to things. And I'm not saying you have it figured out, and well, none of us do. It's a very different time, and I'm dealing just like everybody else is with a changing world. I mean, it changes and impacts us all differently. Some of us physically, some of us mentally, some of us financially, and we're all at a point where we need to start taking back control. And so I just want to make sure, as we talk through and over all the things that I do, what I focus on in the Habit Self Transformational System is raising my hand. I'm taking responsibility for my health and my well-being. I'm taking control. Now, what happens in the outside world is beyond our control, and that's just like the serenity period. We need to have the wisdom to know the difference of what we can control and what we can't control. But inside of us, if each and every one of us individually decides to take control of how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and when I'm feeling these unsettled feelings, which is just naturally our nature, I'm going to take the time to work on that, so I'm not dwelling on it. We know one thing: if we sit there and just absolutely allow it to consume us, that doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve the people around us. It doesn't serve our country or the world, and it certainly doesn't serve our health. We know that. So I just wanted to start there, David, because one of the important things is to know that we can take back control, and we have lots of things, tools we have to help with that. But it's really important for us to start there.
Very good. Well, let's continue on with that, because this is a great graphic that comes from the Habits of Health Transformational System, and it really talks about making that shift rather than drifting into the drama triangle. And maybe you could just share with a little bit more perspective of how you've used Stop, Challenge, Choose as a way to shift back into a healthier presence.
Yeah. See, we all have inside of us the things we need to really make the right decisions. But what ends up happening is, if we have something happen to us and it emotionally engages the middle part and the lower part of how our mind thinks and our brain, what ends up happening is we become very defensive. We become very protective, fearful. We're worried. And when we're in that state and we have anxiety, we don't make good decisions. We don't make good decisions. And people are making some crazy decisions right now based on fear. And it's not in their best interest. So what this mechanism is about is knowing that we have stimulus that are going to happen to us, and we have a story and the way we're programmed, and we have our habits of how we respond. And during a time like that, everything is getting amplified. So there's never been a better time to basically, when you're feeling something inside, you saw something on TV, you got a bill and you're not sure how you're going to pay it. You're worried because your friend has a temperature and you're wondering whether you're now been infected with the virus. Stop, challenge why we're feeling this way, and then choose an outcome that will move you forward. And the outcome is, we know we can't control everything in our outer world, but we can control what's inside. And what ends up happening for most people, rather than when they feel themselves drifting and stopping and challenging us, they actually go down into the lower part, which is the drama triangle. And in the drama triangle, there's plenty of help all around, people being the victim, thinking life's happening to them, being the villain, blaming it on someone else or themselves, or being the hero coming in to save the day, and really enabling people to continue with the same behavior. So, David, important to start there.
Well, one of the common themes that seems to be questions that keep rolling in, Dr. A, is just motivation to do the things that people don't feel like doing. And maybe you could give some insight on how people can become more motivated, or how they can get through some of the things that they don't want to do to get the results that they ultimately desire.
Yeah. Let me grab some water real quick. I'll be right back.
For those of you that are watching right now, if you can go ahead and put in a question in the chat message, we would love to see your questions. And Dr. A looks at the different comments that are made and helps to create content for future live videos. So if you just arrived, put in the comment section or the chat section something that you'd like to have Dr. A address, or maybe a challenge or a concern that you have right now. We'd also would love to hear feedback. If the Habits of Health system has gotten to a point where it's really made an impact on your life, whether you've just purchased it or whether you're going through it, or maybe you're going through it a second or third time because it's making such a big difference to your life, we would love to see those comments inside of the comment section so that we can get some more feedback from everybody on how everybody's doing. So Dr. A, share with us a little bit more about how you do things that are hard things to do, even when you don't necessarily feel like doing them.
Yeah. So the whole thing is the concept of micro habits. And it's one of those things that that's ensconced or really built into the DNA of the Habits Health Transformational System. And it's knowing that habit formation takes time, it takes energy, and it takes, most importantly, consistency. And that consistency only comes by doing it every day. Now, what we have a tendency to do is we hear a talk, maybe you come out of one of these videos, or you hear someone on TV, and you say, you know what, I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to start walking every day. And let's say you haven't been walking at all, and now you're used to being in your office, and now you're home. If you go out and you walk like 3 miles in the first day, you may get really tired and be sore and decide not to do it. So we always want to create micro habits. So in other words, if walking is one of those, so most of us have one of these devices. You can pick one up online, a pedometer. That's all you really need. You don't need one of these fancy things. But the bottom line is, we could put a goal of increasing our steps. And let's just say, we say every day to start off with, we're going to add 100 steps. So every day you look and see what your total was from the day before, and then you just look and go on and make sure you do 100 steps more. And on the days when you feel really great and you're out walking and it's a beautiful day, you can walk more. So we call that the bonus or plus. And over time, on average, it takes about a little over 2 months for most habits that are simple. 66 days is what the School of London says, the University of London College of Medicine. But on average, it's a little over 2 months. So if we do it every day, and on the days when we feel like doing it more, because there's going to be days when you don't feel motivated. And if you said, I'm walking 5 miles every day, and you don't feel like doing it because you don't feel well, then you're not going to do it, and you just broke your chain. So that's how we do it, David. Keep it simple, easy, and moving forward.
Great. Well, we have this graphic from the Habits of Health Transformation System that kind of gives more of that visualization of, not setting out to do really hard things if your motivation and commitment level isn't extremely high. Can you give us another example, whether it has to do with one of the other macro habits, whether it's, healthy nutrition, healthy movement or motion, and healthy sleep?
Yeah. So this graph, when I designed this, it's not easy to first understand, but once you understand it, it makes sense. So if you look on the vertical axis, use your motivation level, and at lower or up at the top would be higher. And then the next is ability. Now it's reversed because it's easy to do over here on the left side and they're hard to do on the right side. So let's take a couple examples first. If you notice, if it's too hard to do, even if your motivation's really high, you can see on the right side where the white pebbles are or rocks are, you can see if it's too hard to do, you can't do it. And so I'll give an example of that would be, let's say right now for all our viewers, you want to run a marathon. So when I'm in a live meeting, I ask that question and I say, how many people can run a marathon right now? And maybe one hand. And I said, what are you doing? And they're training. So they're actually practicing right now. But for the rest of us, even if we were highly motivated, let's say somebody right now said, they would give you $100,000 if you ran a marathon tomorrow. Wow, you'd be highly motivated, but you wouldn't be able to do it because we just don't have the capability. It's too hard for us to do. So on the other hand, if David, we go all the way down into the lower left corner, you can see if your motivation is really low and it can be easy to do, you still won't do it. So I'll give you an example. So right now, let's touch our nose. So really just touch our nose and just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep it going, David. All right, tap your nose. Tap your nose. Okay. Now, if I asked you to do that for 24 hours, would you do it? No, because it's boring. It's so monotonous, doesn't excite you. So those are the extremes, but in the middle, and I'll use a great example. So as we decide to do something, we want to make sure we can do it every day. So I'll give you a great example. I had a few months back, actually it's been about a year now, but it's a great example, is I had a older lady, I think she was about 75, and she lost like 150 pounds, and she was starting to work on the other macro habits. And I asked her, well, what's something would you like to do? And she says, well, I'd like to be able to hold my grandbaby. And I said, you can do it. She goes, no, I'm not very strong and I haven't done anything that works. I said, well, what can you do on your upper body? And she said, well, I could do push-ups. And this is a 75-year-old grandma. And I asked her, I said, really, how many push-ups can you do? She said, oh, I could probably do 5 or 10 a day. And I said, really? So Sally, get down right now and do one. And I could hear her over the video conference and groaning and everything. She goes, Dr. A, I actually can't do more than one. And I said, okay, but can you go against the wall and do them? And she said, yeah. So she went against the wall and she says, I said, how many of those? She says, oh, I could do a bunch of those. I said, Sally, how about just starting off doing one a day against the wall? Because she hadn't done any exercise. And obviously we always say, check with your physician or your healthcare provider before you start something new you haven't done before. But the bottom line is she went against the wall and I said, on the day, Sally, when you think you can do more, do more. If you're there on the wall. And I said, and then I gave her a cue. I said, why don't you start it after you go to the bathroom in the morning when you get up, do that right away. So you have a cue to get you going. So she started that. And I said, when you feel like doing more, do more. So after about 2 or 3 weeks, she was feeling really good about herself. And she was up to doing on average about 10 to 15. So then we did them on the side of a desk. Took about 3 months, but she actually got down. And on average now she does between 5 and 8 push-ups a day. She does them every day. And she's 75 years old. So it's certainly possible. And the most important thing is now over time, she can lift not just one, but both her grandkids. So that's taking a micro habit. It's taking something we desire to do. And this can be in any area of your life and making it simple enough that you can do it every day. Because remember, the key to new habit installation and all transformation comes from basically installing new habits, right? It's stopping doing things we were doing new things that support what we want. So with that, over time, you can break down everything, those amount of steps you do every day, and just basically progressively by doing it every day, getting into that habit, do more. Do you get up to, on average, we want you doing 10,000 elective steps per day, which translates into really great health. So these are really important things we can do by breaking them down. And that's the whole idea of the Habits Health Transformational System. We have an app right now that you can download. You don't have to buy anything. You can download the app. David, they can go to thehabitshealth.com, as you said, download all kinds of the charts and the different graphics and watch videos. And we give you a whole bunch of resources of things you can do right now to make the decision that I'm going to work on my health and my well-being. And part of them are going to the mental gym and part of them are going to the physical gym. And we want you to do both. And I think you'll find, going back to where we started, there are two worlds, right? There's my world inside of me and then there's the world outside. I don't have control over the outside, but I can certainly improve my ability to deal and make the adaptations to the outside world by making sure my inside world is working properly. And that inside world starts with all the macro habits, getting a good night's sleep, making sure I'm active every day, not sitting around, making sure I'm getting enough steps in. You can use the stairs and basically use, like I said, I don't have where I am in Florida, in my sitting here in our quarantine, with my girls and their friends. I use 2 laundry detergent bottles, right, which weigh about 5 pounds each, and it works. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's just saying it's the excuse to just do something to help you. And then obviously sleep, stress management, stop, challenge, and choose. If you're just getting started, just a few centering breaths, David, that you can do. These are all things we can start developing, and we have a great opportunity because most of us are sequestered at home. We can start working on those things. And what it will do, no matter what's going on in your external world, whether you're worried because there's a real threat, Your community is now being overrun with the infected virus. You need to be even clear. You can't panic and do things that are fear-based. You have to do more logical things, making sure you're washing your hands, making sure you're not going out, making sure you're minimizing your chance of being exposed to the vector, and working on yourself mentally, because we know an article just came out today. We're looking at interleukin and showed that worrying and anxiety dramatically changes these markers, the same markers that are being changed, by the way, when someone comes down with the respiratory component of COVID-19. So all these things are interrelated, and the more we say, you know what, I'm raising my hand, I'm taking back control of my world, and I'm going to work on that both from a mental, physical. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm not going to eat fried food. I'm going to eat healthy, vibrant vegetables and things that are full of phytochemicals and things we can use to truly work on our antioxidants and all these things that help prevent us at this time from being as healthy as we could be.
So good. Well, I know that you talk a lot about the idea of 100 steps going up in elevation is the equivalent of walking a half a mile on a flat surface. For those of you that are struggling with getting some extra steps in your day because of being more housebound, using one step, going up and down that step 100 times is the equivalent of walking a half a mile on a flat surface as it relates to the total energy expenditure. So small little things are inside this amazing Habits of Health transformation system. Head on over to thehabitsofhealth.com if you'd like to get more free resources and download Dr. A's free ebook. And tonight is our Habits of Health community call. And so if you'd like to be a part of a vibrant community of people that are seeking more health and hope in their life, reach out to the person that shared this video and they can get you the login information, and you can listen and hear and see transformational stories of people that are getting healthier using the Habits of Health transformational system. Dr. A, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all real soon right back on this page. Make sure you like it and share it so we get the word out to more people. Thanks, everybody.
Be healthy, be safe, everyone.